welcome. Glad to have everybody. And I was so excited when I met our guest, who will join me in just a minute, because I'm a huge fan of shoes and shoe brands. And I always take notice of brands who have the ability to understand where they fit in the marketplace, the role that they serve with their customer, and who are passionate about themselves as well. So if you would join me and give me a very big, very warm Meet Magento New York welcome to Louisa Chen, Chief Financial Officer for Sole Society. Have a seat, Louisa. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
For those who may not know the brand, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Sole Society?
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Financial Officer. Sole Society is a women's brand of shoes, handbags, accessories. We're digitally native. We were initially backed by Insight Venture Partners and Nordstrom, and then got bought out by the Camuto Group in about 2.5 years ago. So Camuto Group is one of the world's largest shoe manufacturers. They also license a ton of brands. They have their own brand called Vince Camuto, which I'm sure many people know about. So it's been wonderful scaling with Camuto. They have a ton of wholesale relationships that we're working with, and also they basically acquire Sole Society to be their digital umbrella.
And so you're of this new sort of, I say new because everything's newfangled, right? I'm getting old. But you're of the digitally native, vertically integrated brand that's in the last 10 years really taking retail by storm. What is that like? And what is it like coming out of sort of an innovation lab like in a Nordstrom and moving into having to kind of stand on your own and prove yourself?
You know, it's been quite a journey. I think e-commerce has evolved by the hour. So in the beginning, it was very easy to acquire customers. You go on Facebook, you spin it up, and then you have your funnel. But as more and more brands come online and spend, it's just expensive, right? To acquire customers, retain them, et cetera. With Camuto, they've allowed us to expand into different wholesalers. So we luckily, because we were owned by Nordstrom, we sold at Nordstrom. So there was great presence there. And now we're finding ourselves in this, I wouldn't say hole, but we're looking down a longer path where we really have to build a brand. We can't just go on Facebook and build a brand by showing a shoe from the knee down. It's just not sustainable.
You have to build people who are passionate about sort of the lifestyle that you're exhibiting, and they want to be part of that. So who's your customer?
Our customer is between the ages of 35 to 45, affluent. She's definitely on trend, but not trend obsessed. She loves a great deal. She's high-low fashion. A lot of they're highly educated, high household income, but someone who loves trends, but maybe is a little late to the party. And how do you see that sort of changing? Is that influenced by her interaction with social or her interaction with media? What influences your ability to sort of stay on trend or to stay with her and kind of keep her with Sole Society? I think because our customer is a little more conservative, we're lucky in the sense where something that's trending now, you'll see it a year later on our girl and on our shoes. So we don't take a ton of fashion risk, but we do have, I would say 25% of our styles are a little forward, and sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. That's the beauty of fashion.
So you started in Nordstrom, so that was like a digital innovation group?
Yes, so they used to have a group where they seeded brands. So it was basically Bonobos, was a Nordstrom-backed company, Eloquii, which is the plus-size brand.
Yeah, it was just acquired.
Yes.
By Walmart.
I know.
It's interesting.
I know, that is interesting.
So,
and then us.
And then Sole Society. So when you went over to Camuto, did you have to sort of retain the wholesale side of the business? Did you have to retain the relationships going into wholesale?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Nordstrom has been such a pillar. Just being Nordstrom backed and then being sold to Nordstrom gave our brand a lot of credibility. So we weren't building from zero.
What kind of challenges do you have with trying to be a multi-channel, digitally native brand? That sounds really tough.
It is really tough, right? Because there's a lot of channel conflict. If we want to mark something down, if we want to put something on promo, you have to match it. But I think the worst thing about working with wholesale vendors is you don't have control of your brand voice. And also, because I'm a chief financial officer, the worst thing is the markdown dollars. So you're basically paying rent, right? Because you're guaranteeing margin for all your partners.
So
if something doesn't sell.
So you kind of broached the topic there. So you're the chief financial officer, and we're at a Meet Magento event.
Yeah.
What does investment in a platform like Magento mean to you? And do you find yourself engaging in this sort of build versus buy conversation when you're building out your direct-to-consumer store online? I assume you're on Magento.
We are.
Okay.
We're on Magento too now.
Okay,
Yeah,
that would have been awkward.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you when you're investing in a platform like Magento? How do you make that decision internally?
I think a lot of it is they're very retail friendly, so there's a lot of tools you can use. We're also spinning up new stores, so we are also going to spin up vincecamuto.com. And it was just a cost. They were on demandware, and it was extremely costly. And so Magento is a cost-efficient solution, and we've been with Magento, right? And they allow very custom builds. That's why we didn't go to Shopify. There were just a lot of things that we needed, like store credit, that you have to build an API and all that other stuff. So, and every day I wish that we could have our own engineering team, but engineering talent is super expensive and they can leave. So we decided to outsource and go with an agency based in Los Angeles. So we always have staff that's there.
Yeah, and you're located in
Culver City, California, which is in LA.
So you're on Magento now. What did you? I believe in our pre-show discussion, you mentioned that you made the jump from Magento 1 to Magento 2. What was that journey like?
It was pretty rocky, but I think any replatform is uncomfortable, right? There was a lot of change. We had to retrain all of our people internally to use it. Like the look and feel from Magento 1 to Magento 2 was completely different. We obviously lost a lot of SEO traffic, which was painful, but it's all kind of like normal.
Replatform challenge.
Yeah. Right. So I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. I think our site was down not down, but there were a lot of pains for maybe a month, and then there's still little things that happen, but after a month, we were pretty much off and running to the races again.
We sort of, I like to characterize that with some of my clients as like a reorientation period or sort of a readjustment, which is part and parcel of replatforming.
Yeah.
So a Magento 1 migration to Magento 2 for you was a replatform conversation, or effectively replatform. Did you look at other platforms during that time?
We definitely looked at Shopify because everyone looks at Shopify.
Sure.
But again, I think if you're a brand that has limited SKUs, Shopify's a great platform. But we're introducing 30 new shoe styles a month with like 10 colorways. It's impossible to go on Shopify.
Wow.
For that.
So Magento was the right platform for you. One of the things that we see a lot is platforms. There's the 80-20 rule is definitely in high. It proves out because 80% of the people use 20% of the platform.
Yes, I agree with that.
And you just said that you're not terribly promotional. So SKUs you mentioned, but do you see things as Magento's differentiator, maybe as like a cloud service in 2018? Like, what are the things that you think might be future-proofing you in your brand in the selection of Magento 2?
I mean, like you mentioned, we're not very promotional. We stopped using affiliates like Coupon Cabin and Retail Me Not to preserve margin. And when we are promotional, like a first-time buyer coupon, everything's unique, right? So putting out unique codes and all of that stuff, it takes a lot of time, but I think that was unique to Magento as well.
And others have been very successful to do that.
Yeah.
Like Rothy's is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And so would you say that that's more of a fad in certain circles to try to build brand awareness in things like that are effectively like affiliate commission type schemes that might enable you, like having a platform like Magento as opposed to Shopify might enable you to take advantage of those things if they were to present it up as an opportunity?
Totally, yeah. I think, like you said, the 80-20 rule, I think we're only using 20 or 30% of the platform, and if we had more money for developer time, we know it's there, right? So I'm just trying to think of the different things that we're looking to do, but you're right. There is faith, and we did a lot of diligence, or my CEO, COO, they did a lot of diligence around that, and they were comfortable with moving to Magento too, because we did do a pretty extensive deep dive into Demandware and Shopify, or building our own. But I think just going with Magento, knowing that they're constantly innovating, that gave us kind of peace of mind.
And so you're direct to consumer.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you're enabling wholesale as well. Is that something that you're looking to is that a digital first process for you?
It is a digital first process. We would love to be in stores, but if anyone's gone to a mall lately, there's not a ton of traffic in stores either. So we're looking to expand a lot of partnerships, dropship. So that's one. I mean, every wholesale vendor loves dropship because they don't take a lot of inventory risk. And then, and also the age-old question of should we sell on Amazon?
Yeah, and, well, should you sell on Amazon?
We haven't yet, but we're looking into it. We're on Zappos, and they take hard buys, meaning they have orders up front. Instead of us taking the inventory risk, they take the inventory risk. So we're seeing how Zappos does, because our product really resonates with their audience. I think they skew a little older as well. So
Is Zappos an Amazon company?
it is.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
then you're on
Yeah,
Amazon
we're on
as far as I'm
Amazon.
concerned.
But Amazon, I think, takes a steeper cut and
Sure.
all those other things.
There's an interesting study, which I won't reference directly because then you can't quote me on it. Someone mentioned recently that it's YouTube, Amazon, and then Google.
Yeah.
When people are looking specifically to get content, when they want to consume content, they're going to YouTube first. When people want to make a purchase decision, they go to Amazon first. And then when they can't find what they're looking for, they go to Google. That sounds like it might be a challenge to acquire customers because you sort of have to be in other channels that maybe you're not directly participating in. What is customer acquisition or paid search acquisition? How does that look for you right now at Sole Society?
So we rely very heavily on just paid advertising. And I like to say that every order is paid for, which kills me as a chief financial officer. And that's why I run digital marketing as well at Sole Society. I mean, it's a tough road out there to like break through the noise and drive traffic. And you gotta, if you don't participate in those channels, you're gonna lose transactions, you lose traffic. And I think one of our focus points going forward, especially now that we have a wholesale partner, is scaling through other wholesale vendors so we have presence elsewhere, and really trying to build a brand, because you're nothing without customer loyalty.
So customer loyalty, but every order is bought. Is there a difference between a customer that you acquire through paid search and a customer who's a repeat purchase customer for you? Or how? Let me say it a different way.
Yeah.
Is it possible to make a distinction between somebody who purchases based on response from a paid search ad and someone who's actually passionate about your brand?
You know, that's, to some extent, yes. You know, I think when I reference the funnel, when someone's on paid search, I'm pretty sure we touch them through a million other channels, right? Whether they saw us on Facebook or Pinterest or through an influencer. We have a pretty robust influencer program. I think search is kind of, like you said, through that funnel, when we pop to mind, put in Sole Society.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough money to purchase black booty as a keyword or pump, but you know, I do believe that, I think you mentioned it, others have mentioned this, but organic is dying, right?
Yeah.
That's why every single order is paid, no matter. You can convert them through search, you can convert them through Instagram or whatever it is, but I think even your repeat customers, they need to be reminded who you are and kind of what you stand for.
What do you think, what are some challenges you've had to overcome in the past year?
Rising advertising costs, that's a huge one. Scaling. being lockstep with our vendors, so it's not the tail wagging the dog. We're the ones kind of calling the shots on what they should buy and how they should message our brand. But yeah, the biggest challenge definitely is, and also everyone purchasing on mobile, right? And conversion there is a lot lower than desktop, so trying to reach people on mobile and the re-platform and making that a great experience.
So the re-platform is definitely part of that conversation.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are your challenges in the next 3 years look like?
Building a brand.
Yeah.
Building a brand, knowing what we stand for, and messaging that across all the platforms, including paid, right? Because right now paid is, we just write what converts, and what converts, it's just a picture of a shoe from the ankle down, and it's great, right? But I know deep down that that's going to end soon, right? With the economic downturn, you can only pay for so many purchases.
So Sole Society, you focus on footwear.
Yeah.
But you also have handbags.
Yes.
So category expansion, is that part of the brand building exercise?
Totally.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So Sole Society started off with shoes, I think. We launched in 2013. And then in 14 and 15, we noticed, we had acquired a bunch of customers and they wanted to see more things. So we actually decided to go into PVC handbags, which we call vegan leather. And then that was a category that just exploded because we were able to, we like to say we're fashion without sacrifice. So we're at a very affordable and sharp price point, and we wanted to do the same for bags. So we started offering weekenders, like large travel bags, at like that $80 price point, which was completely unexplored. Because if you buy like a leather kind of bag, gym bag, or a weekender, they're typically $100 and above. And a lot of times, if you look at other brands, handbags are probably twice the price of shoes. So we wanted to kind of change that a bit and just offer them at the same price. So we're constantly expanding categories to get the girl back. We also recently went into apparel, third party. We would love to launch our own brand now that we have Camuto as our in-house manufacturer. So we started that probably a year and a half ago because it's all about cart size, right?
Right.
And keeping our girl there.
And you have an interesting challenge there when you go into apparel. One of the, you mentioned Eloquy.
Yeah.
One of the hot topics right now is, it's not just category expansion, but it's also expanded size offerings too.
Yeah.
Do you face any of those sorts of challenges when you're, just dealing with footwear or with handbags? Is there anything that you feel like is you can't capture a certain type of a customer?
Well, luckily with shoes,
Right.
Feet don't really fluctuate in size. So we don't see that as much. We're pretty, apparel, it's tough. I mean, the customer's fickle and sizing.
It's all about the fit.
Yeah,
right.
It's all about the fit and how it looks. We're lucky with shoes, and I think people know this when people go on Zappos, they buy like 10 pairs of shoes, and we're lucky that most of our products are true to size, and that's the reason why we also went to handbags, it's non-sized.
Right.
So the return rate is much lower when it comes to accessories and handbags and non-size items.
What do you think about other digitally native brands that seem to have, your phrase, caught lightning in a bottle?
Yeah.
Allbirds comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about them, and what makes them unique, and what could a brand like Sole Society learn from their particular successes?
I think just laser focused messaging, right? What I love about Allbirds and Everlane is that they know what they stand for, and the consumer knows, right? You go to Everlane because you want to be sustainable and everything's transparent. Allbirds because you want a pair of comfortable shoes at an affordable price point. So I really admire how they've messaged, but I also wonder how far they can go, right? I mean, you can only buy so many sneakers, wool sneakers, and you can only buy so many basics, and then where do you go from there?
Right. So they have the same challenge going forward, which is eventually you're faced with category expansion. We were talking before about Toms.
Yeah.
And I was just last week in LA, and so I went down to Santa Monica and to Abbot Kinney.
Yeah.
And in that area, and I was impressed that if you're uninitiated as a consumer and you walk into the Toms store in Abbot Kinney, you might think that Toms is a coffee shop first.
Yeah.
and a shoe store second.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to bring experience into their retail.
Yeah.
But Tom's had massive category expansion to eyewear and some others.
Yeah.
So would you say that that's what some of like Everlane and Allbirds might have to be faced with as well, is category expansion?
I think they have to. I mean, I can see Allbirds expanding into a different type of shoe with the same messaging, but
please, yeah.
I think these brands just have to run as fast as they can and like use this moment to sell as many shoes as they can and get into the like, I guess, imaginations or capture the imaginations of people before they kind of run out of steam.
That's about the customer experience too, right?
Yeah.
I love the idea that they own the journey from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And for a company like yourself, I think you understand how important that is to understand who your customer is and how to talk to her from the beginning of her journey all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Parting thoughts, what do you think other brands could learn, or what would you give, how about this? What kind of advice would you give yourself, Louisa, from 5 years ago?
Oh God, invest in brand marketing early.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is a CFO talking, and I hate brand marketing, but from a CFO standpoint, but from a brand standpoint, know your message from the very beginning and make it clear as day. Because, I mean, if you don't know who you are, then the consumer will.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for attending. Let's give a hand to Louisa. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No?
Yeah. God, that's a good question. I think our number one initiative next year is scale. Well, so our parent company is in the process of being purchased by DSW. So partnering with them, and they're an e-commerce powerhouse as well. So seeing what they can bring to the table for us, right? Because we've always been constrained on kind of engineering expertise, and we make do with what we can. But I think with DSW kind of in our pocket, or us in their pocket, we're really excited to see what kind of technology they can bring to the table.
That sounds a lot like the Magento being acquired by Adobe sort of situation. That sounds top of mind, yes.
You mentioned digital partnership. Do you have an example of something that you put a lot of time and energy into, and that's really what's in that sort of bullseye that you focus on?
You mean like our, in terms of marketing or anything? I think we should have focused, what didn't hit the bullseye, I think, was kind of our message. So the philosophy in the beginning was just like cute shoes under $100 instead of really talking to our girl. We're just trying to capture customers and get them in the funnel, right? And had we known who we were in the beginning, I think, not that we'd be in a better place, but we'd be in a different place where we really know our girl and can market towards her. Because if you know who your customer is, that takes a lot of friction out of design, marketing, and everything else.
Say a little bit more about your transition from essentially you said like your partnership with documents, but like rewind, like how long did that take start to finish? How many people from you?
Yeah, so I would say it was like a year-long process, right? So we re-platformed the last week of January, and then I think we started like a year before, kind of mapping everything out. And we have one tech person internally that manages our agency, which is Guidance. And I think they had a team of like 5 people dedicated to it, and then we had to hire like overseas resources as well, just to make sure the costs didn't go through the roof. But because we were so focused on cost, just given our board telling us we had to be cash flow positive, our budget was a determinant. Had we been able to put more money towards it, I think it would have been half the time, but we were kind of constrained by certain things.
Any other questions? We have time for one more, I think. Yeah.
Oh God, it's I feel like Sam Edelman, Steve Madden, even though they skew younger, they're in the same price point. But I also see marketplaces as our competitors, right? Like Nordstrom.com, DSW, Amazon, Zappos. So I would say other marketplaces and kind of brands in our kind of price point.
Do you think that, this is an interesting sort of follow-up to that. What is your take on brandless? So this is sort of a new, it's like, do you think that people are a fan of a particular brand of a particular shoe or a silhouette, or are they a fan of the silhouette itself and they don't really care who supplies it?
I would love to say it's the former, but I think especially for where we play, I think we have a lot of shoes that are basics. So it's probably, if we satisfy the price point and the silhouette's basically there, our girl perhaps will go somewhere else unless we offer something that's truly exclusive.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. This has been great, and thank you, Louisa.
Yeah, great. Thank you.